Hey guys, it's Elisa. Welcome back to another video. So in my last video, when I was talking about manifestation, I briefly mentioned that in order to manifest the things that you want in life, that you have to have trust, that you have to surrender. But I did not go into nearly enough detail about that. So we're going to talk about that in today's video. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't have spiritual beliefs, maybe even an atheist, or if you're somebody who's more spiritual rather than religious, I'm sure that you have seen religious people say time and time again, things like, give it to God, let go and let God. Well, those people oftentimes have a seamless flow in their life, and they are able to manifest and bring the things into their life that they're wanting because they have that trust in whatever their view of God may be. So if you're someone who's more spiritual and you see it more like, divine intelligence, if you want to call it the universe, source God, the creator, or if you want to call it God, whatever you want to call it, building a relationship with, I'm going to use the word source, building a relationship with source is what's missing. It's the element that's missing for you to be able to grow that trust and get to a place where you feel comfortable with surrendering. So those of you who don't consider yourself spiritual at all and have a lot of doubt, or maybe you do consider yourself spiritual, but you're really lacking in the area of having trust and being able to surrender, and you're asking me, why should I trust? Give me one reason why I should trust in something greater than myself, or, that kind of thing. So one really, really good example, piece of proof, if you will, is that when you are ruminating, when you are thinking negative, when you're in your head like that, you have this emotional guidance system, as Abraham Hicks calls it, in your gut usually is where it's at. And it's that little gnawing feeling that's telling you, hey, stop thinking what you're thinking, because these thoughts with that emotion, that strong emotion behind it, are creating and manifesting things that you do not want. So stop. Every single one of us, every human on earth has that built-in emotional thought guidance system. I know you know it. It's very subtle. Don't get me wrong. It can be extremely subtle. And if you're not in tune with yourself whatsoever, you may not notice it all the time, but you for sure have noticed it at least once in your life. If we were just here on this earth for absolutely no reason, and there's nothing on the other side, there's no other realms, there's nothing out there that's supporting us and loving us, then why on earth would we have a built-in emotional guidance system? I feel like that should show you at least a little bit that there's definitely something bigger going on behind the scenes that does love you, that is trying to help you. I'm also sure there's been at least one time in your life where you finally were able to just let something go. You gave up, you surrendered and says, you know what, fine, it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. And then exactly what you wanted to happen happens after you were able to forget it. And you're like, oh, that worked out because you finally let it go. You stopped obsessing, you stopped thinking about it. That is proof that when you let go of the resistance, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is then able to bring you what it is that you want, because you are a co-creator with source, with universe. This is all coming from somebody who has really struggled with trust over my life for various reasons that we won't get into. This is definitely something that I have struggled with, and I continue to make it a priority of mine to build my relationship with source so that my trust can get even stronger, and so that I'm always throughout the day being able to be in a place of complete surrender. Now, I know this might not apply to you, but I am a developing evidential medium, and mediumship has also really helped me build my trust. I'll just give you one quick example. There has been many times when I'm in readings and I'm connecting with somebody in spirit, and they tell me to tell my client, to tell my sitter, that they want to acknowledge mistakes that they made when they were here, like we all do. We all make mistakes. And they also want me to tell them that they're working on themselves wherever they are now. They're working on themselves on the other side. And after I hear that over and over and over again, I start to think wow, I'm so curious, what exactly do you mean? When we go to the other side, do we work one-on-one with our spirit guides as if they were a life coach? Do you take classes when you're over there? Are you processing it on your own? I mean, I want to know exactly what they mean. I don't have the answer to that. But when I'm told things like that over and over again, I'm like, it really solidifies my trust with that there's something much more grand, much bigger behind the scenes on the other side, that there is no death. This is not real where we are here right now. It's not real at all. This is a dream. This is a school. I call it Earth School. And where we go back to is what's real. And we just come down here to learn our lessons and to grow, all in the name of like spiritual growth. One of the things that I do personally to grow my trust and my ability to surrender and to strengthen my relationship with Source God, is when I'm meditating. And I've said in every single video that a consistent meditation practice is so important in my opinion. So when I'm meditating and the negative thoughts come in, or any thoughts, as a matter of fact, because my goal in meditation, transcendental meditation, is to have non-thought, to just be in the field, to just be in the moment, just purely mindfulness. So when a thought comes in, especially a negative thought, as soon as I'm able to identify that, I'm thinking a negative thought, I say, I trust, I surrender, I align to the highest truth, and I let that thought go. But not only do I let the thought go, I take each time a thought comes in as an opportunity to cement that I trust by letting that thought go. I don't need to cling on to that thought. I don't need to grab onto that thought and wrestle it to the ground. I can let it go because I surrender and I trust in myself, and I trust in Source God, because I am Source God. I'm just a little fraction of it. I'm an individualized particle of Source God. And so that also is strengthening my relationship with Source. That I can also do it during the day when a negative thought comes in. I find that a little bit harder. I get more easily wrapped up in thoughts when I'm just in my waking life versus in meditation. It's easier for me to catch in meditation, but during the day, it's a little bit more difficult for me to catch myself. But when I do, I also take the opportunity to just stop. I trust, I surrender, I align myself with the highest truth. Now, this may not be for everybody, but I work with plant medicine, solo ceremonies for shadow work, for connecting to spirit with psilocybin, microdosing, okay, or a medium amount, but nothing crazy, no heroic huge doses or anything like that. And that has been the most profound so far for me, as far as building my trust and being able to surrender and having a direct, extremely strong connection to whatever's out there, whatever you want to call it, God, Source, the Creator, universe, whatever. It's been mind-blowing, the experiences that I've had so far. And I've done 5 or so videos on it. That's in a playlist on my channel if you want to check it out, my videos about plant medicine. So if you're someone who's, very open-minded and maybe up to at least learning about working with plant medicine, check out my videos or check out somebody else's videos, and be open to that, because there is a whole world of knowledge and connection and healing there for you with plant medicine. And I emphasize the word medicine because that's exactly what it is. It's a medicine, not only for the body, but for the spirit, for the soul. One of the things that plant medicine showed me is that wherever I'm at in my life, and wherever anybody else in the world is at in their life, is more than okay. It's completely okay. If you need to take another 2 lifetimes or 100 lifetimes in order to learn certain lessons, it's totally okay. When you're working with plant medicine, there's this enormous, I can't even explain to you how strong the feeling of unconditional love that you're receiving. You just feel so held, so loved in this sea of bliss. It's really bliss is what you're feeling. The sea, and then you start to understand what you really are, where you really came from, and that it's okay. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be, working on our evolution, on our spiritual evolution at all. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that I'm shown and told that it's okay wherever I'm at. So during the day when I'm working on mindfulness, having no thoughts, not ruminating, catching myself when thoughts arise, and just being present, living in the moment, enjoying the moment, and being mindful, which is the same thing as trusting. The vibration that you're having when you're living in the moment and not in your thoughts, not in your mind, that's the same vibration of trust. Because you're telling the universe, you're telling Source God, energetically, vibrationally, that I trust so much in myself and in Source that I don't need to bother clinging onto any thoughts, grabbing onto any thoughts and worrying and ruminating, because I trust. So you could talk for hours about mindfulness. It's extremely important. It plays a role in everything. It's one of the main pillars of Buddhism in general. Like mindfulness is a huge deal, something I definitely have not perfected and something that I will continue working on for the rest of my life, but not being hard on myself, because again, I was told how important it is to know that wherever I'm at is okay. So if I catch myself thinking, ruminating negative thoughts, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to stop and say, I caught it. I caught myself. That's awesome. That's progress. I trust, I surrender, I let it go. When you set your intentions and make it a priority to be really present within yourself and wanting to have a stronger connection and a relationship with Source, you are going to start receiving guidance, whether this is during your meditations, whether this is when you're just being mindful and not consumed with thoughts. You're just going to start getting epiphanies. You're going to start getting guidance. When you're journaling, that's a huge one. It ends up becoming like automatic writing. I'm just writing paragraph after paragraph, and it's all spiritual guidance that I'm receiving, like as a download. Especially when you're working with plant medicine, you're definitely going to be receiving some just amazing personalized guidance for living down here on Earth. This is what's going to happen when you make it a priority and make it your intention to build your relationship with Source and to build your relationship with yourself, which takes, mindfulness and takes that intention. You got to dedicate a little bit of time to it. And also, it really, really helps if you let go of your distractions, especially if you're somebody who has so many distractions that it's more of like an addiction. So if you're spending countless hours scrolling or watching TV, every single day, or if you're spending hours at the casino, gambling, whatever it is, whatever you're choosing to distract yourself with, that is the same as saying, I don't want to be present. And this is the same as saying this energetically. This is what you're kind of, in a way, saying to the universe. I don't want to be present. I want to be numb. I don't want to see or think or feel anything about my real life. I want to escape because I don't trust. I don't want to be here. I can't handle it. I can't face my emotions. I have no trust in myself. I have no trust in Source. So I'm just going to distract myself as many hours as I can a day. That's got to change. But again, we're not being hard on ourselves ever, and we're taking baby steps. It's totally okay wherever you're at. Just one little thing at a time is totally okay. So when you're more present and tuned in, whether that's you using plant medicine, you journaling, you just hiking, walking, meditating in nature, nature is so high vibrational that really, really helps as well. You are going to start receiving guidance. It'll probably start off with things that seem a little bit smaller, things that are like, I don't want to have to do that, or that kind of thing. So they might start off with telling you like, hey, you need to clean up your diet. Or, hey, you need to go to sleep earlier, or you need to exercise more, or you need to stop hanging out with that group of people, or you need to stop watching horror movies every single night. Or they might start off with the basics, and that's fine. We're going step by step in our human evolution, and our spiritual evolution is completely fine. One of the other reasons why I feel confident in telling you that you definitely should trust in yourself, that you are a speck of Source God, and that there is something much grander out there, is because when you become present with yourself and you get, better at it, it's a practice, right? It takes practice. It's something that you're honing. And when you get better at it, you're going to start receiving intuitive nudges to take certain actions. And that's the same thing as inspired actions. That's coming from Source. That's spiritual guidance that you're receiving to take an action here, take an action there. So just a couple of random examples. Say you're an artist and you would love to one day sell your pieces for $20,000 a pop to wealthy people, but you just don't have the confidence. There's something stopping you from taking any actions, even though you look at all your art that's stacking up and say, my art is good, but nothing's ever gonna come of it. Then when you start becoming more present with yourself and putting more attention on your relationship with yourself and with Source, in whichever way you choose to do that, reading spiritual books, journaling, meditation, any of it, right? Yoga, nature, all of it, any of it, whatever works best for you. Say on your walk home, you walk home from wherever you work, you always pass this art gallery, and all of a sudden you get a nudge to just go in Just go in. You have no idea who is going to be standing there. Maybe the person that owns it is standing there, or maybe a very successful artist is in there who does sell already his pieces of art for $20,000 a pop. And he's just standing there. And then you end up networking and talking to him. These are little intuitive nudges. Say you work in the corporate world and you're wanting to climb the ladder and it's just not happening for you. And you get this little nudge to, ask somebody that's a little bit higher up than you, ask them to meet you for a coffee, ask them to lunch, and try to build a rapport. Who knows what they're going to say? Like, well, you know what? We're going to be having an opening in this department here in a couple months, and maybe I'll keep you in mind. All because that little nudge said, hey, ask them to meet for a coffee. These are the kinds of inspired nudges that you'll receive when you start building that momentum and strengthening your relationship with yourself and with Source, which is the same thing as trust, the same thing as surrendering. You trusting and vibrationally aligning by letting go of resistance, you'll start to see synchronicities happening, which is a huge clue, like you're going in the right direction vibrationally. You'll see synchronicities everywhere, whether that's the time on the clock is always at 11:11 or 4:44. You will start to hear like the last word of the song on the car radio, and then you get out of the car, there's two people walking by. So say the last word you heard in a song was Northern New Hampshire, something totally random. You turn off the car, get out of the car, there's two people walking by having a conversation, and you hear Northern New Hampshire in their conversation, and you're like, what? That happens to me all the time. So weird stuff. The universe will start bringing you people, networking. The universe will synchronize events happening so that you meet the right person that's going to lead you to the opportunity or the circumstance that you need in order to manifest whatever it is that you're wanting. So the universe is going to line up everything for you, whether that's an event, whether that's bringing you a person, whether that's bringing you a situation. I'm going to give you like the silliest example. I was like 19 years old. I was renting a room, and I was, kind of at the beginning of learning about, law of attraction, that kind of thing. I started at 17, but I decided, let me just write down what it is that I want to manifest. Because I needed money to pay my rent that month. And I wrote it all down. I scripted it, which I talked about in my last video, and I let it go. I let it go to the point where I forgot about it. And then less than a week later, somebody hit me in my car. It was a woman, an older woman, who was actually going to try to flee the scene. And there was someone there, thankfully, that said, if you flee the scene, you're going to get hit and run. And so anyways, she was wealthy, and I was young and dumb, and her lawyer contacted me and said she wants to settle outside of the insurance. Can we just give you cash? And I got a couple $100 more than I needed for rent that month. Just handed to me. The lawyer literally showed up at my door that night and handed me a big wad of cash. So I manifested the money. Did I do it, perfectly by manifesting a little accident? I mean, my car, it was just like a little dent, but still. I must have done something a little wrong by manifesting the money through an accident, but I'm just giving you another example of how the universe will align magic to happen. Don't listen to my example, but the universe will, I should have given you a better example. I have so many other examples that are so much better, but the universe will align miracles to happen because you can have whatever it is that you want, which is another reason to trust. So guidance comes in all different ways. It may not come like you hearing a voice saying, you need to exercise more. For example, when I'm in meditation at night, I will get flashes of a movie that maybe I watched a couple days before, like a suspense movie that had a lot of dark stuff in it. Not necessarily like a horror movie or anything, but like just, low vibe, dark content. I'll get flashes of the movie, and I know intuitively in my body that is spirit telling me, stop consuming this, because it's not just the food you eat. It's not your only diet. It's also what you're consuming through your eyes on social media, for God's sake. I mean, what we see every day as we're scrolling is terrible, and it makes our vibration all over the place. One minute you're seeing something, a cute puppy online, oh, and the next minute you're seeing something super sad, and you're like, oh my gosh. Then you see something 1 minute later that makes you so angry. So your vibration's all over the place. Not good, not good. So the guidance will come in many different ways, and you'll start to be able to tell immediately, because sometimes it's extremely subtle. And that's why being present and being quiet, quieting the mind. Meditation, it helps tremendously, because sometimes the guidance is very extremely subtle. Sometimes it's just a, maybe you're at a bus stop and you just immediately get this like sense of like terrible feeling in your gut, and you look to the person next to you, something's telling you, get the hell out of there. Because the more in tune you get and the more aligned you get with your higher self, the more sensitive you become to everything. There are things, paranormal type shows that I used to watch all the time when I was younger. Now, sometimes I can't even watch 5 minutes. You start to become much more sensitive to, meaning like you may not be able to watch the dark stuff that you used to watch, certain types of movies, certain types of shows, with the murders and all the bad stuff in the world. Music, low vibrational music that they play in the radio, that's going to affect you in a way that it's never affected you before. Being around people with a certain frequency, you're going to be extra sensitive to that, so it's going to affect you more. And I mean, that's just what it is. You're just becoming more sensitive as your vibrational body, etheric body, is becoming calibrated to what it should be, and that's just part of it. And that's kind of also in the realm of taking responsibility and being emotionally and spiritually responsible, being emotionally and spiritually accountable, and being emotionally and spiritually mature. So as I said before, you ruminating and worrying and obsessing, having obsessive thoughts, is showing the universe energetically that you're not having trust. And therefore the opposite of you working on your practice of mindfulness is showing that you trust. And so it's removing that resistance, and then the universe can bring you what it is that you want. And another thing that's going to build trust is when you start to manifest, when your manifestations start coming to fruition, and you see the universe engaging with you and responding to you and co-creating with you. You're going to know, like, oh wow, this is real, because you are a co-creator with the universe. You have to do your part, then the universe does the majority of it. And when you start receiving what you're wanting to manifest, that's really, really going to build your trust. Let me know in the comments how this video made you feel. What are your thoughts? I am a 5th year developing evidential medium. If you would like to book a reading with me, you can grab the link in the top of the pinned comment and the description box. If you would like to book a reading with me, which is done over Facebook video call, can I say one thing very quickly? If you want to have a reading with me and you message me on my Facebook mediumship page, please don't tell me a whole bunch of information about the person or pet that you're wanting me to connect to. Some people have been messaging me, but then they tell me a ton of stuff about that person or that pet, and that those are the kinds of things that they give me as evidence. And so I like to know nothing. You can tell me, I want you to connect to my mom in spirit, I want you to connect to my dog in spirit, that's fine, but that's it. Don't tell me a bunch of information if that's okay with you. I appreciate it, because then I'm able to give you many more pieces of evidence in the reading. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyways, please give this video a like and leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, share it if you want to support me. I appreciate it more than you will ever know. Thanks for being here, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.